So I put together this toolkit for you. After this session, you will have access to this toolkit for a short period of time, after which I would lock it and it becomes a paid session, a paid tool. But what this does for you is it actually allows you to understand what exactly is going on. Of course, I don't know I don't know what's happening, but just based on people I've mentored, people I currently coach, people that I work with, that I've done interview prep with, conversations with, in one shape or form. That's what this does for you. It allows you to name who you are. Are you a perfectionist? And there's nothing wrong with that. But all of these labels, like I like to call them, come actually with anxiety or imposter thoughts. So it's so important that you actually know a name, really important. And then how do you interrupt the loop? I'm going to talk about this a bit more in the presentation, but these are things that you can do. And then, of course, there's reframing your own. What are your personal strategies to interrupt the loop, right? You need to be able to name them and know what they are. So if you go for an interview session, for example, you can be so worried about all sorts. You're overthinking it, and the reason why you're overthinking it is not because you have a problem. It's just unfortunately how your thought process is working. So how do you interrupt it? Then how about your walking style, right? Because again, that could be something leads to anxiety. If you're somebody who works really well in the mornings, or really well in the afternoons. But unfortunately, most jobs, except you're working in another time zone, will get you started in the morning. That could be a source of anxiety, and that could lead to imposter thoughts. I'll talk a bit more, I'll build on this a bit more in the session. And so this is working styles. And then, of course, having you try something, if you're about to present or speak up, these are things you can do to anchor yourself. And these are not the only things. I'm sure you guys know that. There's a lot that you can do. But what I've done is just sort of pulled in what works for me and what works for people that I know as well. And just put it into this tool for you. And if you don't feel like you deserve your role, and there's people, I don't know how I passed the interview. I'm like, this is something that you absolutely can use as well. If you have interview fears, this is something you can use. Yeah, and then look at what is actually holding you back in your career or in that interview. It's so important. And then these are approaches. I will talk about this a bit more in the session as well. And then, of course, there's a reflection guide. I believe so strongly in the power of reflection because that's where you grow. It's not the experiences that happen to you that cause you to grow, not at all. It's taking yourself one step, two steps back and saying, I've just gone through this experience. What have I learned from it? That's what causes you to grow. That's the place that switches stuff off and on. And so if you're not reflective, then that's a problem. And one very common interview questions, that's been floating around is if you had to do something differently, what would you do? After you've shared maybe something that you've done, and they're like, if you had to do something differently, what would you do? Or tell me about when something didn't go wrong, what didn't go wrong, and what went wrong, what did you do, and how did you manage it, and what would you do differently? So again, it's bringing in reflection into your approach, and that's in, uh, um, so I have going to be 50 and there's something called menopause, and once in a while menopause just brain just freezes you and your thought just disappears, and that's just what has happened to me. It doesn't happen a lot because I do have exercises that I do to just mental access exercises that I do. So this is called improvement. So it's about improvement, and that's what happens with you to you, right? You need to know where you fell short so you can improve on it, or where you're falling short, or potentially where you could fall short, and that's how you improve on stuff. So it's the reflection of on what happened that actually moves you forward. And at the end of the day, if you fill this up, you actually do get a plan, and you can do this often, and you can print it, you can download it as a PDF, or you can start all over again. All right. And of course, if you need support, you can always reach out to me. Those of you on my socials in some way or form, you already reach out to me quite a bit. All right, so we can absolutely go ahead with that. Now, why are we having this session? I've done this session. I've had this talk, in several different platforms, and it's always so powerful. I get messages after every single time I do this talk, depending on the platform, usually on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'm invited to talk about it, and I do. And the sentiment always is, I don't even believe that I've actually been living with imposter thoughts, and I didn't even it like you literally. I am the avatar of what you were talking about in the session. And again, like I said about reflection, just being able to reflect on some of the things that I'm going to talk about today would move you forward. Now, does it mean everything I'm going to talk about will apply to you? I'm sure you know that that's absolutely not true, but it is helpful. So once again, just to remind everyone, please use the chats to introduce yourself. Put your LinkedIn on the chat. Let's create a strong community and just build each other up. I do have a WhatsApp group where some of you have come from, and some of you have joined us from LinkedIn, some of you from some of my other socials. You matter, and your thoughts matter as well. And if you don't believe that, just go to bed tonight, go into the office with no thoughts at all. Yeah, and let somebody come to you that you've never met and drop something on your table, and then come back and tell me how you feel. All sorts of thoughts are going to show up. All right. Now, what are you going to expect today? One is an understanding of how imposter thoughts show up. Really important for you to understand that they do show up always. They still show up for me. That's the reality. But I've learned how to manage it. I've learned to understand that imposter thoughts in itself is not a bad thing. It's not being able to manage it, right? That then makes it a problem. Yeah. So we do need to understand that and manage it properly. Do you recognize it if you're like being literally held down by an imposter thoughts? Can you recognize it and can you move forward from there? Really important. And I'll give you an example. There's somebody who was on one of my programs. I do 7 weeks, 12 weeks. I do one-to-ones. I do quite a bit of different things when I'm able to fit them all in. And I was having a conversation with this person, and this person literally started to cry. I was so shocked. And I'm like, what's going on? Say something. What did I do? So I was so shocked. I was like, what did I? This can be very blunt. For those of you who know me, can be quite blunt. And I don't mean it badly. It's just, man, get out of that headspace and let's move forward. And I was so worried. I was like, oh my God, what did I do differently? What did I do? Go, shout. And this person was crying. I was really crying. And I'm like, God, what do I do? What do I do? So I'm a Christian, so I started to just pray on the inside because I really didn't know what was going on. And after a while, the person said to me, "It's not you. It's not you. It's just here right now. I just realized there's so many things that I've been going through. I've just never thought about them. I'm just listening to you. It just makes me reflect on the stuff that I've done in the past. And I'm looking at myself right now and I'm like, how did I get here? Like this person literally said to me, I think my brain is not working. KK, I don't know what's going on with me. My brain is not working. I'm not able to answer these questions you're asking me. And when she said that to me, both of us started crying on this. Who's going to start cool? Anyway, eventually we pulled ourselves out of that space and we moved forward. And she recently reached out to me and said, after the session that we've had, because I did have to schedule a few sessions with this person just to, reorientate their mind and help them understand that you're bigger than this, you're better than this, you can do so much more, and don't hold yourself back. If this is where you want to be, it's absolutely fine. But if it's not where you want to be, then you can move forward, and give the person some tools that they could use, mental tools, such as what I'm going to share with you later on today. Yeah. So, and that's something that can be very helpful. And this person messaged me and said, guess what? I'm still doing the job that I know that I'm much better than, but there's so many opportunities opening up to me. I've kept having interviews. So before this person moved to, person lives currently in the UK. Before they moved here, they were a global HR team lead for a global organization. No joking. Like a big deal, a big freaking deal. But then they moved in here and mixed in with circles of people who said, you know what, people that look like us, people that this, people that, we can't really do this, we can't do that. You may not be welcomed in this room, in that room. And that just shut the person down, which could happen. But thankfully, like I said, just going through some mental models, which we're going to talk on today, really shifted the person from that space. So you do need to be able to shift yourself out of certain spaces mentally. And you're really the only person that can do that. No matter how much I love you, and those of you who have worked with me know that I literally love you. Like I put you on my head. Like that's what I do. I overdo itself. I mean, some of you are like, babe, chill. But it's just how I am as a person. But there's just some things I cannot do for you. You're going to have to do it yourself, which is why I need you to recognize it and not just understand, recognize. And that's the third layer. You need to do something about it. You actually have to do something. If you don't do anything, nothing is going to change. Unfortunately, everything else is going to be happening, but you're going to be stuck. And that's not where I want you to be. Now, these are the job market realities, and that's what. So this session is primarily focused on those either going through redundancies, career switches, they've moved into another country, immigration, and whatever, and they're just faced with all sorts of things that they maybe never have even thought about or have been exposed to before. So that's what I target this session for. Of course, if you're new on your job and you're trying to move upwards or vertically to another role within an organization, this will also be quite helpful for you. But just most importantly, just take it in and listen and say to yourself, what am I going to do differently? I would share a tool with you later on and share the link with you. Reason why I haven't shared the link, okay, I have shared the link on one of the groups, but I haven't shared the password with you. Is because I know that you're going to be distracted and you're not going to focus on this session. You're going to be there tricking and touching. So that's why I'm not letting you have it for now. All right. So career transitions are increasing. You were doing a job before and you want to pivot onto another job. And that comes with anxiety. It comes with thoughts of, oh gosh, am I technical enough? Can I do this? What do they do? I've heard you need this skill, or I've heard you need this certification. All of that sort of messes with your head. Secondly, the job markets are really competitive. There's so many times I'm hearing this, the job market is cooked. Oh, the job is this, And if you're hearing a lot of that and you're internalizing it, you're cooked, right? Because that literally, your brain is like an algorithm. you know, I made the mistake of clicking on stuff that's happening on America with Trump and all of that. Literally, my TikTok especially is filled with that kind of information. That's the same thing with your brain. It's just a sponge. It lets go of what it feels like you don't need. I'm not going to go into that today. But the neural pathways, and the more of those neural pathways you use repeatedly, come because they just keep pinging and retracting those neurons over and over again. That's the only way that I can sort of explain it. It's slightly more complex than that, but I'm not going to go into that because that's not what the session. That's not what the session is about. And then there's the visibility pressure. Like, how do I get people to see me? Do I switch my LinkedIn off? Do I turn it on? Do I create a new one? Don't I? What if it's not working? What if it works? All of that as well is happening. And then, of course, you're comparing yourself to two people down the road or two people in your office who've just gotten new jobs or something, right? It could be people in your circle, and you're saying, okay, it's happening to them, it's not happening to me, and that just piles on more pressure. Now, if anybody relates to any of these things that I've just said, any of these four, can you if you relate to one, put a one in the chats. If you relate to two, put a two. If you relate to three, put a three. If you relate to four, put a four in the chat. If it's something you related to, you relate with, all of that. Okay, some people say one, some people say four. Four, exactly, right? That's it. In one shape or form, you sort of have felt some of these, maybe not all of them, but some of them, right? And that just compounds the problem. It just compounds the problem. And we do need to interrupt that loop. But I have a quick question for us, those of you who are in here. If you've never climbed the mountain before, ever climbed the mountain before. Thank you all so much for all of that fantastic engagement in the chats. You've never climbed the mountain before, and you're put right in front of this mountain and you're told to make a choice. They say to you, you know what? You have one, two, three, four, five, six choices on the mountain you're going to start with. However, there's a seventh one. You can just simply step over one of those flowers at the bottom. You can see the flowers at the bottom. There are one, two, three, four, five, about seven or so of them. You can step over them, or you can start climbing mountains. Now, which one will you guys do if you've never climbed a mountain before? And you literally don't even know you are going to be climbing a mountain. You get there and they're like, mountain climbing. Which one is it going to be? Seriously, so Christy says they'll do the Japan one. That's good for you. I'm going to step over the flowers. That's the reality. I'm not going to look at the mountains because I'm not even ready. Like, are you for real? I've done no mountain training. I may not even have the right outfit for the mountains. Like, I'm literally standing and they're saying, you're going to be climbing one of these mountains today. Pick or step over the flower. Flower. Look, if I can step over the grass, I probably would take that one right for the flower. That's how much that's what I'm gonna do. And the reason why I would choose that, I like to rejoice. The reason why I'll choose that is because I know myself. I know that if I don't regulate my thoughts, I'm gonna fall down that mountain. I could really be able to climb that mountain and I would be fine. I'll get to the top, I'll put the plant the flag. But because I'm not expecting that to happen, it's totally new. I need to take a step back and recalibrate, then move forward. It doesn't mean I'm never going to climb it. Oh, absolutely not. But at that minute, I'm going to recalibrate. And that's the importance of knowing yourself. You need to be able to say, in certain situations, how am I going to react? And plan for it. If I'm not expecting something to happen and it does happen, how do I react? If you do not move forward in self awareness, stuff's going to get messed up. And when it gets messed up, what happens? It just compounds your anxiety next time you get to that space where you're not expecting something and something happens. Yes, Rejoice, you will get the recording, Rejoice. All right. And that's something that is so important for us all to remember. Don't feel the pressure to do what everybody else is doing. Don't feel the pressure to get on the bandwagon. Don't feel the pressure to move until you're ready. Now, do you have to push yourself? Yes. Okay. And that's where this session comes in. What is the difference between I'm ready, but I want to be mindful of how I'm taking those steps versus I'm ready and I'm never going to move, right? That's the difference. And that's what we're going to be exploring today. So, one thing you do need to understand is if you look on the charts, we're all very similar in many different ways. Of course, there are areas where we are divergent, but there are many areas where we're very similar. But self-doubt happens to everybody. The fear of exposure happens to everybody. Overthinking happens to everybody. Like, no joking, every single one of us. And these may be the sort of questions that you're asking yourself right before you put through that application, right before you even go in for that interview. I had somebody, I think it was 2 weeks ago, who said to me, okay, I'm not even just going to go for this interview. I'm just done, please. They said this to me, and now I'm talking to you, and it's sounding like this. I'm not going to go. And I said, you're joking. You will go. You will go. And I can't tell you how many times I'm coaching people and I hear that I'm not going to do this. I don't think I can do this. I actually had a call with someone today and the person said the same thing. Said, do you think it has happened to you before? Okay, yeah. Somebody, I was talking to somebody today and the person said to me, you know what? Do you really think that I can do this thing? No, Kiki, just be honest with me. Like, yeah. When I ask questions, you're like one of the first people that answers my questions. When I, put up a scenario, you're one of the first people that tries to crack into it. So yes, you can, right? That's just you can. Don't let anything hold you back. In an in-person interview, it actually happens. And it's so crazy, right? And when it happens in an interview, oh my God, it's almost like everything you've learned and you've prepared just disappears. It's such a horrible, horrible feeling. Yeah, and it's something that we honestly need to just break out of, right? And these might be familiar. You're blushing, you're sweating, you're wondering what's going on. Do I have a fever? Are you sure I don't have a fever? Your heart is racing. Some people are shaking. I was talking to somebody today and she said to me, the first time you told me to do a presentation, KK, do you remember that? You were asking me, why is the cursor? What's wrong with your cursor? Why is your cursor moving? She says, because I was shaking behind the screen. I said, you're joking. She said, yes. I remember because I was wondering, why is your cursor moving so much? It was on my 12-week session, and I was teaching them how to use Jira, how to split user stories. We're talking about splitting user stories in that session. And she was the person that was leading. So every week we sort of have leads on the group. So she was the lead on that group on that week. And I said, okay, I need you to share the Jira screen and let me take you guys through why you need to split, how a user story is too much and what you need to do in terms of splitting the user story and all of that kind of things. And that's what I was seeing. Like she literally couldn't click. And so when we're talking today, she was like, I was so anxious. And it happens. Said to me, she said, I've not even been able to do this. She had to switch jobs. And she said, the job that, oh, Claire, I forgot that one. The job she currently was doing, the interviewer and said, we want to keep you on because you're one of our best teams, but you have to go through the interview process again. And guess what? She couldn't do the interview. She couldn't do the interview because it was a face to face. She was shaking and she told them she couldn't do it. They said, okay, let them put her on a Zoom call. Even on the Zoom call, she was stuttering, she couldn't speak. I'm not joking. Thankfully, she had to move to another job that they called her on the phone this time around. She let them know about what was going on. And it's like, that's fine, we'll talk to you on the phone. They talked to her on the phone, put her on a probation. She's doing so well on the job. Like you can't reconcile the person that couldn't. Crazy. Crazy. So you do need to understand that there are realities. I'm not joking. And most of the times we just want to take that escape route. And I'm like, I'm out of this door. I ain't going, I'm doing this. No, don't. Or you avoid it. Now, all of these are realities, but you're not alone. Now, this statistics I've pulled, some of it is way back, way back. I have, more recent statistics as we go on. But look at this, 70%, like 70 freaking percent. And that number is higher. See that number is 70% of successful people, 70 reported experiencing imposter feelings at some point in their life. So Bill freaking Gates has had imposter feelings. Yeah. Women executives have experienced imposter syndromes, but I can tell you for a fact that even male executives, because I coach executives as well, and sometimes I'm looking at it, I'm like, huh? Like this person is so accomplished, and I'm having a conversation with them, and I'm wondering, is there somebody behind my laptop screen? Like, am I missing something? So it's not you. You're not alone, right? 80% of CEOs feel out of their depth. That's a freaking CEO that rose to that job either because they've been doing it for a really long time or the board said you can do this. And I look at entrepreneurs and small businesses. So you're not alone. Okay, you really are not alone. And you need to understand that. It's nothing new. The question is, what are you doing about it? That's the one. And that's the one that I need us to do about today. Now, anxiety and imposter syndrome are different. Anxiety is actually clinical. Clinical. This person I spoke to you around, and I said the cursor was shaking. It's a clinical thing that this person is working through, but it's exasperated by imposter thoughts. Are you sure I can? Oh gosh, that thing happened and it just spirals. You start to think and overthink and imagine worst case scenarios. So it creates a loop, right, where you're trying to overcome one and another one comes in and it just keeps going around and around like that. But at some point, you need to interrupt it. Okay. Now, the data suggests that even though they're different, anxiety and imposter syndrome, but they actually exist in a clinical interaction, in cyclical, I beg your pardon, interaction where one fuels the other. So your anxiety is fueled by imposter syndrome, or your imposter thoughts start to happen because of anxiety. Yeah, but you need to interrupt it. Feelings of dread, fear, uneasiness, that sweating, all of that is anxiety. When it's in your thoughts, it's irrational. You've done something and you don't even recognize what you've done as important. That's imposter thoughts right there, right? So you need to interrupt it, which is why if you're on the WhatsApp group, we had a really robust conversation sometime this week about LinkedIn. For me, it's not about LinkedIn or not LinkedIn. It's more about what's your mindset doing to you that is causing you to feel you have to be a certain way for certain things to happen? That for me is the real question, right? And so you've literally reinvented yourself. And again, it's absolutely fine. A lot of my clients get more hits on the new LinkedIn pages than on the old one. That's not a problem. But I need you to recognize the fact that it is you that those recruiters are seeing. It is you that the hiring managers are seeing, not your freaking LinkedIn page. Do you get what I mean? You need to understand it. And you also need to understand that it is you who's going to stand in front of these people. And so if you have allowed your LinkedIn to be the sheen, the cloak, right? The mask, you're going to feel like you're unmasking yourself when you go into that interview session. So it's very, very serious. It's beyond the LinkedIn. I don't pretty much care about the LinkedIn, to be fair. It is what it is. But what's the reasoning behind it? And if you don't unmask it early, go into those sessions and you're going to be so worried. That's the same thing that happens with the CV. You've asked AI to recreate your CV, you've gotten an interview, and you're like, I'm dead. Just kill me. Like, how am I going to do this? I don't even know what I wrote on that CV. Look, okay, let me be honest with you. That CV, AI did it. And I'm like, hey, did you feed AI something? But when you saw the JD, it always makes me laugh when people say that AI did it. Okay, so just start from the beginning, like I don't know. Okay. And that always makes me laugh because chill. You know something, you fed AI something, right? You either saw that job description, and even if it was one of the roles you said, I can do this, can we go back there and start from there? All right. Now look at this data that focuses on imposter syndrome and anxiety. Just look at that. Right. So if when people don't have imposter syndrome at all, you can see their level of anxiety is really low. But look at where imposter thoughts come in, the anxiety levels are crazy. Right. So you do need to, it's something you have to master. Now, what is the difference between, let's get practical now, imposter thoughts and anxiety? Anxiety lives in your body. Okay, so those headaches, those stomach cramps, that shaky hand, all of that is anxiety. That's your anxiety that is showing up. But those imposter thoughts, it's just been lucky. I need one more certification. Okay, let me just do one more certification. Just one more, then I'll be fine. Okay, you know what? One more. Like, where do you stop? You literally have to interrupt that at some point, right? You can't keep going. It's not even financially, you can't manage your finances that way. What anymore are you gonna do? It's literally impossible. Yeah, my skills are at the wrong level. I'll fail at this. I don't belong here. They will see I'm not technical enough. There's all of that is happening. I remember the first job that I got in the UK. Hey, my God. First of all, you got tired of the certification loop. I'm happy that you did that because it can happen. And you just keep spending money and money and money and money. And that's why I don't feed on fears when I'm selling my program. I think that's actually, I don't think anybody that has paid for my program, I've not ever brought somebody to talk to you about how good I was or convince you to register for the program. You guys just go ahead and register. Like somebody registered today for my 12 weeks program. I'm like, you did? Right? Because I'm not even talking so much about my 12 weeks program because I'm unfortunately quite busy. I actually had to move the date back because it's just stuff that's what's going on. And that's because if you let your fear or those imposter thoughts drive your actions, one, you're not going to get the best out of it. That's the reality. Some of you have come to me and said, okay, I've started a new job. Please, I need your support. And I'm like, I'm not going to support you. Go there, go and do the job, you'll be fine. I can take your money. But I will teach you, right? Because I don't take people's money and I don't teach them. I will. But I do realize that that action is being driven out of fear. So you've gotten the job already. There is support on the job. Yeah. So when you go start the job and you see that you need support, then yes, you can come to me because at that time you even know the support that you need. But you don't know what you even need, and you're just coming to KK. Like, do a magic wand. It doesn't exist. So I do need you to be able to take responsibility as well. So sometimes that is me practicing tough love, not because I don't want your money, but I know that if you go back and just think it through, you will then say these and these are the areas where I do need support and come back. For example, there's somebody who I supported through interview prep, and this person didn't know quite a bit. So I knew that they didn't know quite a bit. However, what I said to the person was, let's focus on the interview for now. When you get that job, we're going to work together. I'll do an accelerated program for you and I'll get you ready. What was I doing? I was interrupting the loop of anxiety. If that person goes in because they were really, really anxious about the interview, I said, let's interrupt that loop right now and focus on just the interview. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to just focus on one thing so that you can move forward to the next. And when the person got the job, we sorted them out, right? I sat with her for about 3 weeks. Like I said, it was accelerated, but I told her what she needed to do, and she's moved on and she's doing extremely well. She's a senior executive officer in one of the government establishments. She had never worked before as a BA. She was actually working in McDonald's, right? So it's possible. But if you let anxiety get in the way, you're not going to move forward, unfortunately. Yeah, so that's why I need you to interrupt it today. Now, it affects 70% of people. So severe anxiety, burnout, self-doubt, with 53% of UK employees, and I try to focus my research on the UK, that this doesn't mean it doesn't happen elsewhere, but that's because that's my primary space. So that's why I've done this. All right. Now look at this. It is highly linked with anxiety, depression, and lowered productivity, causing 12% of job quitting decisions, up to 10. So there's so much that this horrible thing does, right? So you need to honestly interrupt that loop. Now look at what this does for job search. Look at this application hesitation. 64.2% of job seekers feel unqualified for the position you meet the criteria for. Yes or no? Have you ever felt this way? Yes or no? Can I see that in the chat? And then 59.3 believe other candidates will be more qualified. Have you ever felt this way? Now look at the second one. Yeah? In 2024, 72% of job seekers reported that the job hunting process negatively impacted their mental health. And that's the truth. There are many people I've spoke to that like, I've just taken a break, KK. You know what? I've just taken a break. I'm not doing this anymore. It is mental health draining. High stress levels. Why? It's still connected to those thoughts. And then look at the ghosting factor. When you're waiting for employers to get back to you, it can lead to really high levels of anxiety as well and stress. Now, one way to do this is to simply reach out to them again. But because you're feeling, I don't know, I was lucky to get here, you don't do the follow up, right? And sometimes that's just how you lose the opportunity. Now look at this, interviewing and economic tax. Economic tax is this one, salary gaps and promotions. That's economic tax. So you're actually putting yourself back because of your imposter syndrome, your imposter thoughts. Look at performance distortion. 93% of candidates report feeling anxiety during interviews, which can lead to what? Self-deprecation and playing it safe. So you're just reciting your CV and you're not saying anything outside that CV because you've tailored that CV to that job and you're like, I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm just going to play it safe. And so all of the beauty you should have brought to the job, to the interview, you don't. It costs you your interview sometimes. Self-sabotage. Using outdated resumes, canceling your interviews, sometimes showing up late, sometimes stuttering, sometimes asking them to repeat the questions multiple times. Fear, anxiety, imposter thoughts. How about the salary gap? You will take a lower offer or you get the first offer and you just sign it. There was one time I actually applied for a job in a council and this lady came to me. She was HR and I don't even get it. That's the day something switched for me in my head. She came to me and she said, Hi, Gladys. So you haven't signed the offer yet, but we do want you on this job. It's so important for us that you join us because you have skills that we don't have, and we really need that. He said, but before you sign that offer, I want you to look at that offer. If it doesn't work for you, let me know. She said, I've done this many times, maybe because she was African as well. I don't know. Or God just sent her to me to break that thought process of just take that first offer because the offer was freaking good. Like for years in Nigeria, I don't think I earned this much. So it's like, so I just wanted to sign that thing with a ballpoint pen and just sign it with flourish. And she said, hold on, girl. Take a look at it. If you're not happy with it, come back and we will negotiate with you. I said, it's possible. You mean you will negotiate with me? Of course, I didn't say that out. I was sure, of course. I'm not going to do that. It's lies. I didn't know that. Right. But that's the reality. You signed the very first offer and you don't think that you can push back. They've made you an offer. You don't have to take it. You can push back. You can eventually take it, or you can push back. They're not going to withdraw the offer. I'm not saying that people who don't withdraw offers, they do, but it's not going to be because you're asking for a higher salary band. That's not going to be the reason. It's going to be something else. And then promotion avoidance. There's somebody I know on one of the sessions that I took, and this person was trying to apply for a role in another organization. And they were saying, I don't think I'm going to fit into that organization. And I didn't understand why that person felt that way. They said, because that's what my boss is currently doing. I was shocked. I said, but that organization is not yours. So actually, in that organization, it could very well be that it's a smaller organization. He said to me, yes, it is a smaller organization. I said, okay. It could also be that what you are doing, that's what they want you, that's what the boss, the position you're going to be applying for is going to be doing. That for them is boss. And then maybe they have a different structure. He said, oh, I hadn't thought about it. I told him, I said, apply for it. Do that. Just go. Actually, he had applied for it. He didn't think he was going to go for the interview. So you just have to honestly interrupt the loop. You have to break it. That's what happens. And if you don't interrupt that loop, I think for me, it's these things right here, and I'll show them to you. These, look at that. Delayed growth, missed opportunities, you stay stuck, you shrink yourself. So, all of that. That's just what happens. And I don't want you in that place. Right now, this is the confidence loop. And it starts with what? One imposter thoughts. Right? One imposter, it's just gone again. So I don't know what's going on. It's just frozen. I can see that it's getting frozen. But I don't know why it is. Okay, so let's go on. All right, so it starts with that one imposter thoughts, it triggers an anxiety response. That then means what? You either want to avoid it or you just go silent. You don't want to respond to those recruiters anymore. Or you then go into that flurry of over preparation. Sometimes that silence, that avoidance leads to a missed opportunity or more self-doubt if you don't get it because you've over prepared and then you didn't get it and it just leads to more self-doubt. At some point, you're going to have to stop yourself and say, these thoughts that are in my head, this anxiety that is stressing me out over and over again, I need to stop it. I can't remember how many times I've said to people, reach out to people via DMs, and they say, oh, but they never respond. And I'm like, how many did you send him? Like 5. I'm like, guy, 5 is literally 0.00001% of response. Can you please put yourself out there? Right? You're staying quiet in meetings. Why? Nobody knows you. And you're saying to yourself, oh, nobody talks to me. Nobody talks to you. They don't see you. You work remotely or on a hybrid where you're in meetings most of the time because the days you come to the office is not the days another person comes to the office. And so you guys may never meet in the office. So they don't know you, literally. You're just in meetings together. You're another name on the meeting. You don't respond. You don't put in the chats. There are people in this meeting today who've not put anything in the chats. Nothing. Why? So right now, if you haven't put anything in the chats, I need you to put something in the chats. I don't care what it is, anything. You can write anything and just post it in that chat. Let's break that loop today. Because I know that some of you here already who've not done it. It's a habit, right, that you build. Build that habit. Yeah, thanks, guys. I know it's breaking off. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, thanks, Jude, for putting anything. So please put anything. Thank you, Mide. Good. So guys, put something. Put it in the chat. Olu, yes. Don't make me call your names. I know those of you who haven't put anything at all in the group. I know you, so I'll call your name. I'm just kidding. But yeah, absolutely. You do need to just break out of that. You need to break out of that space. You have to. You have to. And yes, I can imagine the sky is blue. Absolutely, Babs. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, don't put the sky is blue in the meeting though, except you guys are having fun in the meeting, which is fine. What do I need you to do? I need you to understand that even in this meeting, where there's really nothing at stake for you, you're still displaying those behaviors that keep you in your comfort zone. You have to shift it. You have to. All right. You simply have to. Okay. And sometimes it's number one, you saying, I'm going to take myself, I'm going to select myself. I'm going to do this for myself to prove to myself that I can do this. And that's what shifts everything. But you really do have to break that loop. You have to interrupt it. Like I said, I have a tool that I'm going to share with you. If you came in early during the meet when we just started, I did share the tool. So I'll share it again and then I'll share the link with you guys. And it'll be great to get some feedback on how you felt after using that. Okay. But most importantly, it's for you to build your roadmap, to create a plan that actually moves you from that place where you're sticking with the familiar and honestly just staying stuck. Honestly, just staying stuck. You have to move, you have to interrupt that loop. Okay. Now, these are ways that you can interrupt the loop. There are three levels: the thought level, the body level, and the behavior level. All of these three levels require something from you. You have to do something. Okay. Nobody can do it for you. The thought level is you naming the imposter thoughts. I'm just going to stop share and take you guys to the tool again at this time. Trying to stop share and it's refusing to stop share. So I'm just going to stop share and take you to that tool because I want you to see what that does for you on these three levels. Okay, because that's important for you to understand it. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen again and show you what that tool does for you. Yep. So this is the tool. It'll come on your screen in a short while. Yeah, so you should be able to see it now in another second or two. Just hold on, there's something going on with my network. Yep, you can see it now. So that's the tool that you have on your screen. Is there something in the chats? I know, Alex. It probably we need to check the system, Alex. We need to. There's something going on. Now look at this. So of course I shared this with some of you who were here earlier, but I want you to take and name yourself. Which one of these are you? Are you the superhero, the soloist, the natural genius, the expert, or the perfectionist? They're all anyway, let's not go that far. Anyway, so this is what I mean by interrupting. Yeah. The thought process, the body process. Now look at this. What does getting stuck feel like for you? Now, these are stuff that I need you to do. You are either reframing the thought, so write your reframe. When you feel now, these are examples, but when these thoughts come to you, what do? Reframe it. What is the evidence to actually show that you've done something? Name yourself. There's a time where I did that, I had sticky, which is why I use it with a lot of my clients that I'm working with on mindset renewal. I had them get sticky notes, yeah, different colors, and actually stick it around their house and write the right thoughts to it. And they have to tell me in our session. So take one sticky note and talk to me about that sticky note, right? It's so important. Then name it to tame it. What exactly is this thing? Name it. And then the 4-7-8 reset method, breathe for 4 counts, hold for 7, and out for 8. Sometimes you can do this in the toilet before an interview. I usually dance in the toilet before an interview and I'm just dancing and just shaking off all that excess energy. Crazy, isn't it? And then return to your values. Okay, and then name what you need. So these are things that you can do. Yeah. And then these are other things. When you realize that you've made a mistake, so I'm going to share this tool with you and give you the password to it so that you can use this because it's helpful till at least you get to that place where you're like, okay, you know what, this is what I want to do. If you're about to present or speak up, these are things that you can try. If you're always comparing yourself to others, these are things that you can try. If you avoid asking for help, so these are so, shaking my laptop. We're going to EE right now. So anyway, these are stuff that you can do. And if you do these exercises, you actually do come up with a plan. And you can do this for different things. You can use, if you have 4 different imposter thought patterns, you can do it for the 4 of them. And you print and save the PDF once you're done. Okay. And then you can continue with whatever it is that you're doing. So it actually saves everything for you, which is really good because it gives you something to refer back to. All right. So this is something that I'm going to give to you today. All right. Like I said earlier, you will not have it forever. Hi, Hilda. You will not have it forever. Yeah, but you will have it for free. And I'm not giving you're not paying anything for it. Okay. So I'll just share the password with you guys later. Even when I do put a payment to it, it's going to be something like a one-time fee of maybe like £10 or something, not a big deal, really. Yeah, so take a look at this. Yeah, so these are the things that I've just explained to you using that tool. This reflection worksheet, I've also put it on the tool for you because there are times where we need to remind ourselves of how great we are. There's somebody that I mentored, and I said, for every question, the person had an interview, but thankfully we had a lot of time before the interview. For every question on the interview, I said to the person, take your sticky notes and tell me what you have done in the past that becomes the anchor for this question. Don't look at what you've done within the last couple of years. Go back to your past. What was I doing? I was rejigging that person's memory pattern. Rejigging that person's memory, sorry, not memory pattern, such that they remember who they are. I think it was it Jafar? It was one of the cartoons where I remember which of the cartoons now, where they said, who are you? Was it Lion King? Does anybody remember when you had to remember who you were? Was it Jafar? Was it Aladdin?
It's Lion King, Rafiki.
Yeah, that's you. Huh? So I have some cartoon people with me right here. Yeah, so the times when you have to remember who you are, remind yourself who you are. But if you forgot it, okay, it's not Lion King. Yeah, thanks, guys. So it's not what you currently are doing is not reflective of who you are. It's just what you're doing at this minute. And if you let all of those other things get to you, you honestly stay stuck. And I've seen so many people stay stuck. So they stay so stuck that they're even afraid that they to leave because they don't think they have anything to give. You do have something to give. That's why you have met me today. You have something to give. Yeah, and this is sort of the loop you might see. You need to fix your CV. You get really anxious about fixing your CV. So you avoid it and say, you know what, I'm going to leave my CV for now and I'll come back to it later. And then what happens? You feel much better, right? But guess what? That CV is still there because you know it's still there. So you're still anxious because you know you're still going to do that, right? So why not just freaking do it? And this is where the interruption is. Yeah, if you don't do it, your to-do list keeps growing. So you eventually do need to take action. So take the action quickly. Now, this is on the tool. So you would have it on that tool. Approach comparison. So moving from awareness to action. It's either you're doing the behavior driven or you're doing the mindset. And I like this one, right? Separate your feelings from facts. Stop it. Stop that comparison. Feelings from facts. You need to separate them. Now, my daughter, separate what you're feeling from the fact. And that's what that reflection exercise does for you. What is the fact? And then own your background, own your story. It really is not a weakness. All right. And then many times, honestly, when you need to start because you feel ready, and somebody that reached out to me and said, oh, they weren't ready, they weren't sure that they were going to do the 12 weeks program, but they really want to do it, but they just feel like they need to get ready. I said, okay, that's fine. He said, well, you know what? I'm on a student visa and I've only just renewed it. So I'm really worried that by the time I'm ready, my visa may be expiring. When I was looking at this person like this, I didn't say a word because that's not for me to tell you what to do. By herself, she got to that place where she was like, you know what? I'm going to register. Right? I have several people coming to me like that. Right? At some point, you're never going to feel ready. And I said to her at some point, I said, look, you know what? My program, that's what I do. I help you get ready. But that's not even the point. If she didn't feel ready, she wouldn't have made that payment. Has she made the payment now? Yes, she has. And she is joining the program. But there are times when you do things when you don't feel 100% ready because you understand the fact that I need to move forward. I'm going to perfect it as I go ahead. I don't know about you guys, but within the last month or so, I've had my iPhone update how many different times. In fact, I woke up today, I was at the gym this morning when I saw, oh, there's an update on my watch. I'm like, the heck? Okay, I can't do this update now. They're always updating, right? So you're not the final version of yourself. You're not the final version of myself. What? Are you joking? I'm only just starting. And I'm going to be 50 in December, right? So, like, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter where you are right now. You need to move forward. You're not your final version. Please remember that. Now, this is a goal setting template that is, again, really important. We all know SMART goals, right? But how many times do we really use it? Look at this example. I need to put in some applications this week so I can get callbacks next week. And that's what we say to ourselves. Ah, I need to apply. I need to apply. Let me apply. Where are you applying to? Are you applying to healthcare organizations, consulting organizations? Are you applying to the NHS? Are you applying the public sector or the private sector? Like, what's the specificity? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You need to be specific. I know that we have this throw shit at the fan, and if it sticks, it sticks. But that's really not the best approach. You actually do need to say why, because your CV is going to count. You need to tailor your CV at least to some extent to even be considered for a role. You need to measure it. I'm going to apply for 50 every week. How do you know you applied? You can make it because you do, 5 or a minimum of 5 per day. So, yeah, you may fall in at 30, but guess what? You know that you are measuring it. And then are you thinking about your skills or are you just applying? I was talking to a recruiter and they said, do you know that what people see on LinkedIn, that 100 people have applied or more than 100 people, they shy away. But I say to them, don't do that. Because out of those 100 people, some of them don't even live in the country. So they would not even be considered. Some of them lack the basic experience levels that we want to see. This laptop, this network today is so annoying. This network today is so annoying, honestly. And it keeps beeping. So there's something going on. I'm not even sure what it is. I keep hearing that beep, 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 beep. So I don't even know what that beep is. Probably wants me to restart my device again, which I will. Anyway, we're almost done now. Right. So don't basically consider yourself first before you apply for that role. All right, make it achievable. Don't think that because 10 people have applied, you're not going to apply. Please don't do that to yourself. And then realistic, okay, make sure that it aligns to your experience, even if you don't have everything. The cutoff is 80%, 85% for some ATS. Some of them do 70%. So it means that if you have at least 80% of the skills that are listed, apply. That's it. All right. And then make it time bound. All right. So these are still examples of making stuff smart. Okay. And the strategies for just improving and practice your mindfulness, so your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. I use my SWOT a lot. Before I do anything, I say to myself, what's my strength? That's why sometimes people come to me and say, I need to do interview prep. And I'm like, I ask you certain questions because I don't even know if I can take the interview prep. One could be my availability. And that's usually the weakness that I have. I just may not have availability to take it. Yeah. So, so do a SWOT. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities that exist that you can leverage? And what are the threats? Now, there's somebody who I worked with, interview prep, and she didn't get the job, but she said to me, I know why I didn't get the job. She said, I know why I didn't get the job. She said, but I know what to do better. Now, she messaged me a couple of weeks ago and she said, KK, I've gotten this job. It's a part-time volunteer role, but it's really good. And within the organization, the hiring manager said to me, you should take the volunteer role because there's a job that is going to be coming up and I'm going to be perfect for that job. And I'm like, what? And this is somebody who I can't even explain to you where this person was in their mindset. All right. So, evaluate yourself. Know why you're not moving forward. Okay. Journal your thoughts. I practice a lot of this chunk. There's a big task. I break it down into smaller tasks, and that enables me to get it done faster. It actually enables me to see what I need to get done. Something else I do as well is visualizing. I actually visualize that I can do this, and I go ahead and I do it. So usually before I go to bed at night, I think about the next day and say, what are the things I need to do today? And I visualize it. And I sometimes would have my phone and I speak to my phone. So my voice notes, I don't know if you guys do it, but I WhatsApp myself. I WhatsApp, I tell myself, show me myself. And I'll send the voice note to myself and I'll play it in the morning. Listen to it. Why? Because I've sort of set up my day already, even before the day before. All right. And that just really helps me with my planning. Okay. And then, of course, you can use any of my services. What's the conclusion? Your anxiety and imposter thoughts are 100% normal. You're not somebody that is abnormal. You're 100% normal. Do not sabotage yourself. All right. Set your small, choose where to start and then just start. Okay. Really, really, really important. All right. Now I'm going to share the password with you guys to the tool that I mentioned so that you can have it. But before we do that, does anybody have questions? Any questions? Anyone? If you do, you can put it in the chats. You can raise your hand. So this is the tool. The password is in the chats. How many of you have the link to this password? To this tool? That's the password, clear mind. Osman, please go ahead. I'm just going to copy the link and share it with you guys on the group as well. So you can have that.
All right, KK, good evening. Thank you so much for the session.
You're welcome.
I don't know if I may just ask, what would you say in a layman's language is imposter syndrome?
Okay, I'm really surprised that you're asking me this question, Osman, because I did talk about it already.
You know, because there's levels of definitions, you know.
Okay, in the layest way, honestly, I'm not sure how else I'm going to describe it because I thought it was very basic what I said. Imposter syndrome is just you feeling like you're going to be unmasked. It feels like you are presenting to the world what you are not, and that's just what it is. So you're like an imposter. An imposter is somebody who, so imagine people who take your WhatsApp identity or your Instagram identity, your Facebook identity, those are imposters. So that's how you feel. It's an imposter. An imposter thoughts are you saying to yourself, I'm not going to be able to do this. They will catch me and see that I'm not the person that I said that I was. They will see that I'm faking this thing. Hey, God, they will catch me. So that's what imposter syndrome is. That's what imposter thoughts are. And it's just you always seeing yourself as somebody who's not good enough, who is not the right fit, right? So that's what imposter is in this
And it
field of
comes
like.
with some internal fear or something.
So the internal fear is anxiety. Your imposter thoughts, let me not say you, imposter thoughts trigger an anxiety level, and that's what happens. So let me put that slide up again. It triggers, yes. So I think that might be helpful actually. So let me put that up. Yeah, this one. So this on the left and on the right, you have imposter thoughts live in the mind, which is right here. Let me get a yeah, excuse me 1 minute. Yeah. So these are imposter thoughts. They live in your mind, but anxiety lives in your body. So when you have difficulty sleeping because maybe you have an interview coming up, that's anxiety showing up. If you're easily tired, you're like, you know what, I'm just tired. Let me just go and sleep. That is anxiety, which is where it links to depression. You're restless. Why? Because of worry and fears. That's anxiety. It actually shows up in your body. You're tense, you're sweating, your muscles feel achy. Sometimes you actually feel ill. Some people actually throw up, right? Because of anxiety. So my son used to be really anxious. He doesn't seem like the same person. When we moved him to come and do his A levels here in the UK, the 2 days before he had to move, my son was sick. He was throwing up, he was pooing, it was ridiculous, right? And it was ridiculous. I had to extend my ticket because I couldn't go back. I had to stay with him. When we moved, because he's now in the University of Swansea, when we moved him to the University of Swansea, God, he cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and God, I'm back. I said to my husband, I said, but so I'm not sure I can go. I can't go. Because of him. It's the same person these days that rarely comes home. He's like, mommy, I'm like, should I come over? He's like, no, mommy, I don't need it. You are fine. I'm like, eh. So this shows up. Now you can have these without having any imposter thoughts.
Thoughts.
It can just be
Okay.
anxiety, yes. But there are times where both of them mix. There are times where the imposter thoughts are what trigger the anxiety. So you're saying her, they will say I'm not technical enough. And that I'm not technical enough, you can't sleep before the interview. Your heart is beating fast. You're sweating when you're in the interview, right there in the interview room without the panel. You're quiet in meetings because you're like, if I go and talk now and I say the wrong thing, they'll catch me. So those are things that are mindset patterns that needs to be interrupted. Does that
Okay.
help, Osman?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Because if you don't interrupt them, then they will start to affect the body.
Exactly. And they just keep getting bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger. Really,
Okay.
is the problem. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about
So
that. I don't know where I was, when
I
you
shared
were,
this. No, it's fine. It's absolutely
yeah,
fine.
you were talking about it the first time.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. So Christy
Thank you
says
very
that
much.
no problem. How do I go deep on questions during interviews that you always feel you give surface answers? So that is a competency question, Christy. That honestly has nothing to do with. Well, it could have stuff with imposter thoughts. That's you downplaying your achievement. It's also you thinking your skills are at the wrong level. It's you also saying that you might not be technical enough or you don't belong. Um, and so what is happening is instead of you actually listening to the question, that's a really good question, Christy. Instead of you actually listening to the question and saying to yourself, where do I anchor the conversation for this question, you're just going to be quiet. And so they ask you an answer such as, trying to think of a question for the interview right now. Talk to us about how you manage suppliers, or talk to us about your governance processes. And you're just like, oh, I use my rates log, and you just stop there, instead of then going ahead and asking a question. So what you need to say to yourself, right, is, and it depends on the question. It also depends on the type of interview. If you are doing like a really high level interview, it's a good one to name your skill set. So if they say to you, how do you talk to us about your governance procedure in a project? You can say governance is, you can talk about what governance is, what it means to you, and then say, and I'll give you a quick example, and then you go ahead and give an example. So always say to yourself, what is the example I can use to flesh out my answers, to add a bit of curry, a bit of you know, cheese, a bit of something extra to my questions or to my answers, and that should help you do that. No matter how short the question, the answer is, or the example is, still go ahead and do that, and I feel like that will be helpful for you. I think one thing that we also need to realize is the interview panel already has seen your CV and they love that CV. What they need you to do is come into that interview and show them the evidence, right, of your experience. So they can see it on paper. They want it in 3D. Can you talk me through your experience? You need to be able to talk them through that experience. And the best way to connect it to your panel is to give them an example, right? That example should be very similar to the where you're working, as much as possible, so that they can actually connect with it. And that's all that you need. So always say to yourself, what example can I use to answer this question? Okay. Jude says that I feel too tired to apply for jobs, and then I compare myself with others. Oh no, it's that is I'm so happy that you've identified this. You're feeling tired about applying, but other people who are getting the jobs, who are applying, you're thinking that they have more experience, but that's not the truth. The truth is you're just not putting in as many applications as they possibly are. So you're not getting the opportunities, right? And we do need to, and I'm so happy that you identified and named this, which will take you to this part, right? Um, right here. What's that? Interrupting it and saying, What does getting stuck look like for, no, not this one. Sorry. Anyway, one of them. Okay, I think it's a reflective one. Yeah, this reflective one, where you're saying you had a feeling people feel better than you or something like that, and you just challenge it. Okay, that's something that would be very helpful. Yeah, so I'm very happy that you said that. And to be honest with you, a lot of people that I work with or reach out to me, when I ask them that question, so when last did you apply? How many applications did you put through? They don't have an answer for me. They're looking at me and I'm like, how will you get the interview if you're not applying? Right? And that's just the reality of it. If you don't put those applications through, you're not going to get it. You feel like your CV is not good enough. Your CV may not be good enough, and that's the reality of it. So you do need to check, is my CV good enough? Check it. You can use AI tools to check that and see whether or not your CV is good enough, and apply aligns to the role. So take 10 job descriptions, for example, in an industry you want to go to, and check that the skills on those 10 are adequately reflected on your CV. So if, for example, you want to work as a business analyst, maybe a process improvement business analyst for which is pretty much not a huge thing, then you need to then say process improvement business analyst across 10 different organizations. Let me see their JDs and infuse the skills that are needed in your CV. And what that does for you is you can then use that CV without tweaking it all the time, right? Because it means that it's like you've thrown your net into the sea and you're catching in a lot of fish. So that's something that you can do. So you don't need to tweak it all the time. And you can just throw shit at the fan, literally, because you can use that CV for so many different jobs. Yeah. And I've shared this on one of my videos prior, so you might want to look at that. It should be somewhere on my YouTube. But yeah, you sometimes need to take a look at that CV and align it and make sure that it works. Because if it doesn't work, then it's not going to open the doors. But if it works and you're not putting it out there enough, then those doors are not going to open as well, and that's effort. Okay. All right, so we would wrap up for today. I hope that this has been helpful for you guys, and you would absolutely use some of the tips and tricks and tools and everything, and just push yourself forward. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you,
Have a
KK.
lovely evening. No problem. Bye.
Thanks a lot, JK. Bye.
Welcome. Bye.